Hello. Okay.
Yep.
So thanks for the opportunity, Christoph. I will try also to decode it. And the first thing that I need to say is a disclaimer. This is something like a personal experience. So I might say things that Gaia-X might not be aligned with what I say. Okay? So yeah, I am open for criticism.
We have no idea of taking back evangelists.
Okay, so first I start because apart from I am working in Technaria, which is one of the biggest RTO in Europe, but I was also before working on SME, so I just also coming for the world of the entrepreneur. So I also know what happens when you have a startup and a scale up. So that's and this is one of the first lessons when you just go. Oh, wait, I don't saw the game one. The first lessons that you get when you just start your company, okay, is that you always think there is invention, and it's invention, as the Bill Lawley said in Disciplined Entrepreneurship. We all have a lot of ideas every day. Okay, we even just have ideas that we call inventions that you finally have an IPR, or you even have some techniques. But this is not innovation, okay? If you go to the MIT, they say innovation is inventions plus commercialization. Bill Howlett, he said, it is not plus, it is multiplied by. So if you have something, if you have an invention and no one is demanding, you cannot claim that you have a new product or you cannot claim you have a new service. So here, as it says, just putting things in the market is the difficult part. And the sample, you all know, MP3, this was coming from the Fraunhofer, but the real product, it was coming from Apple when he have the iPod. So the product was Apple, the invention, the technique was from the Fraunhofer. Why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because we can have a similar way to understand what is a data space. Data flows, they already exist, and they have already been done here for a long time. You have agreements between companies that they know each other, and they transfer data. If you go to different statistics, there is a lot of data being exchanged every day, but they cannot be considered a data space because they do know each other. When we talk about data spaces, we are supposing that there will be transfers between people that they do not each other, that they do not trust each other because they don't know themselves. So here is what we say, trust is the difficult part. Okay? Data flows is relatively easy, trust is difficult. What happens with trust? A little bit what has been discussed along all the different talks along the day. It is very difficult to build, and it takes seconds to destroy it and forever to repair. So wherever you just try to build and trust, try to do it in a way that someone really relies on and that cannot be hacked. So I'm saying that. Okay, let's go ahead. What are the benefits of trust? And I have started from the top level, like the marketplaces. And because we try just say, okay, we have the participants, we have the service offerings, we are building the verified credentials, we will go later into that. But what is the value that I'm getting from this, from having a verified credentials? What is the value that I'm having just to show to the others that they can trust what I am offering? This is one of them. If my services are published in a marketplace and they will be just browsed by potential consumers, I hope that they will just buy my services because I offer them a higher level of trust. If I am offering them that I have a level 3, I am telling that my headquarters and I'm complying with the rules in Europe. And if my company is in Europe and demands that all my data has to comply with the regulations in Europe, and furthermore, that the data center, the data residence has to be in Europe, then I have to apply for a level 3, okay? Otherwise, I will be just risking that I will not comply with the regulation as they are. So me, as a service offering, I would like just to have the highest level of compliance as I can. Of course, you also need just to make things easy for the small companies or startups, so you also need to have a basic level of compliance. And when the company grows, when the company has more demand, they will just apply for a higher level of compliance. Okay, so, and I was also curious to know we always look things from the Gaia-X perspective. What happens when the people look from outside? And then I took one slide, and this is for the Eclipse Foundation. So do not just blame Gaia-X for this slide. It is just coming from Javier Valillo from the Eclipse Foundation, Data Spaces. And he was presenting this slide. And I was just curious because he said, okay, this is the full stack. Then I was just saying, okay, this is what you say. Where do you place the trust? And he just placed it just below marketplaces and data spaces. So just say data spaces, member management, observability, connection as a service, marketplace just above trust framework. I'm just including not only just, that's what they say. This is the perspective that they have. We can discuss later on. But I just wanted just to have some, how they will see us from outside. Okay? Not that I'm saying that I comply with this slide. I just wanted just to show that you see other perspectives from Gaia-X. Okay, but let's go just for the important thing for today. I was just planning to do a small trip all through the process from the really start, from the self-declaration until you get a Gaia-X level, and how complex or how easy it might just figure out to you. So I was just, first, of course, I just took the easy path, and instead I just choose from this is the decision flowchart you might already have seen many times. And there is two ways, or I would say three, but maybe in this case it's two ways, which is one of them is declaration and the other one is certification, okay? For certification, you need a CAB, you need someone external that certifies that what you are saying is true, and you need to apply documents and they need to be certified. In our case, we will just follow the declaration. We will declare a service, okay? We will declare that they comply, and we will try to provide the documents that are required just to comply with the different criteria. So we will try to follow this path to go to the compliant engines and to obtain a Gaia-X label, okay? So how we do this? First, this is also interesting because I think it was very interesting when you made the presentation with this bring your own credentials thing. For the first time when you know the Gaia-X lab, although they always say that Gaia-X is producing the architecture documents and the compliance documents, and not really code, which is not true at all, but there are code there. And this is produced by the Gaia-X lab. There is also an implementation of the compliant engine, okay? And this is open source, and you can just use it. And you can just use it for other things like bringing your own compliance rules. So that you don't need also to follow, and this is also something which is being now in line with what Christoph has said, because there are other marketplaces, there are other trust frameworks that they will like just to apply their own rules, because you might have a data space for manufacturing, data space for tourism, data space for wherever, and apart from the criteria that you have for Gaia-X, you might have your own rules. So, but using these compliant engines, you can just bring additional criteria or even just modifying the one that Gaia-X is using. So let's go for it. Let's start. You are a cloud service provider, and this is, I put 60 because sometimes you say 62, 63, but some of them is still just under development. But 60 criteria that you need just to fulfill is you would like to get standard compliance, okay? And yes, it's easy to say, not so easy to comply. The thing is that, but I just wanted just to go a little bit what that means, because you go first, you have 5 criteria for contractual, 9 criteria for material and transparency, 2 for technical, for GDPR you have, I think you have 7, 3 for data protection, and so on and so forth. Okay, and you might say, oh, 60, that's a nightmare, it's a lot. What do I have to do just to comply with all of them? They could require me alive. So let's go and just go to one of them. For example, well, first, this is the extra one, if you just want to go for data exchange. But in my case, I will just concentrate on the services with really big bare metal service, and let's see how we can do it. First, just before we go into that, we just go and try just to have a closer look to one of the criteria, to the 5 criteria related with contractual. And this is going just for what is called the legally binding act, okay? So these 5 criteria, in fact, they are all related to the same. They are related to the legally binding act. You need to have the document, you need to have what is the governing law, you need to have what is the countries where the law is impacted, and you need to know which is the service that is going just to be involved with this legal document. Okay, so you need the parties, you need the state law that has to cover the entire provision of the service offering, which is the applicable governing law, and then for all the different criteria, for all the different levels, is self-declaration, okay? So you don't need just to be certified by an external company. Okay, so ready. What this happened? This is just translated into some kind of language that might be understood by the compliant engine. So first, then we will go into the ontology, okay? So first, you have the legally binding act has to be in the legal documents. You need to provide the legally binding act. You need just to show that it is governed by the European Economic Area or the European country. You need to see what are the involved parties in this legal binding act. You need to see the resources for your service offering, and you need to know that at least you have one of the countries that is related to the legally binding act. So let's move forward. This is what it means. Okay? So this is the ontology. I am trying just to put this in these slides, all the links where you can find information. Just trying to show that I am not inventing what I'm saying. Okay? This is coming from Gaia-X documents. And you can just go forward and investigate the different classes. So we have the ontology here on your left, and you have the legally binding acts. You have remember the governing laws in both parties, which is the types and the URL where you can find the document. You just go from here, and this is an example that my colleagues from Arcis did. This is a way of doing the credential, and just going step by step. So first, the credential, which is just underlined in yellow. First, you have the service offering. Okay, remember that every service offer has the one to provide all the information just to get the compliance. Then the service offering, you have the legal documents. You are on the top now. From the legal document, you have the legal binding act. And from the legal binding act, you have the URI, where you can find the document. You have the type, well, in this case is text XML, could be anyone. You have the governing countries, in this case is Spain and Germany, because in this case was Arcis, it was from IONOS. They have locations in Spain, I also have in Germany. And in both parties, and here, as you say, the legal person, that the legal person also, an entity is, well, a company is also a legal person. And in this case, you have the ID from Arcis. And finally, you have the aggregation of resources. This is what resources are included in that service offer. Okay? So that's, a nice way, a very clean way just to provide the verified credentials. But we also have another tool. It is something that is provided by Gaia-X, which is the credential helper. It's just, let's say, a way just to make your life easy when you try just to generate the credentials for your service offerings. In this case, well, this is the link, and you have this, it's easy just to go through it. And, we just try just to make the same verified credentials using the credential helper. And it looks a little bit different, isn't it? And it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's completely right. But the approach is different. Here, you are also using the same ontology. And on the side, you also have the information, which is the legally binding act. You don't see here the service offering. You don't see here the legal documents. You just go straight away into the legally binding act with the governing countries, with the types, and the URL where you can find the document, okay? Why? Because this is a part of a bigger, just verified presentation where you offer. This is a verified credential for the legally binding act, not for the service offer. So far, you need to do more. This is only just a part of it, okay? With the credential helper, you just continue doing the different classes until you get the verified presentations that you will need to submit for the compliance. So let's go go into a more detailed example, like this bare metal service. I just choose it for fun, so that it can be anything, okay? So first, we just go to the top, and we have entities, Gaia-X entities, okay? And if you go here, you have, within the Gaia-X entities, you have the service offering. So that's the most important, where we are focused. Go down, and from the service offering, we have two types of service offering. One for infrastructure, and one for data product. will go into the infrastructure. Into the infrastructure, then you have three services. You have compute, you have connectivity, and you have storage. Then, one step down, if this works. If this works, okay. And now, you go one step down, and you have in compute service offering. And in compute service offering, you have virtual machine, you have containers, you have bare metal, and you have compute function. We are still not there. We still need to go one step down. And that's the end. We reach the bottom of the hierarchy just to reach the services that we were looking for. In our case, bare metal. It looks, and that's all the things that you need just to provide for your verified credentials. Of course, some of them are optional. But at least remember, you have in mind that you would like just to have to work on a bare metal of service offering. You need just to start working on all the different things in the class. So then now we are focused on the service offering. What should we do now? In our case, we try to use, and we use, the credentials helper. Okay? And in this part is when, and also in discussion with some colleagues from the greenhouses, is when you need not only to know how the ontology from Gaia-X works, but also you need to know how this service works. Because here you will have information, not only where the legal documents are, how the legal, well, not part of the legal documents, also about how is the aggregation of resources. You need to know which resources and the characteristics of the resources, because you will need to provide information like, for example, the memory size, and also the kind of memory that you are going to offer, and what kind of, so, and for the computing resources. So sometimes you cannot do it this credential alone. You also need the people that really knows about the services to come to you and provide the additional information apart from what is just working on a credential. So, but let's say that, okay, fine, we have it. Now what? Now you need to sign it, okay? And that's first, you need just first to get all the verified credentials that you got from the credential helpers to put it into a verified presentation. Well, first you need to put it in envelopes. So you have an envelope verified credential, which at the end is a combination of verified credential and then GWT, a token, okay? And once you have all of them, once you have like what you see here on the right, then you need to keep all of them to be signed. When they are signed, next step, you need just to call the compliant engine. Okay, you are not finished. Okay, so you need just to call the compliant engines. And here you can just apply. We have if you go first for the standard compliance, if you go for the level 1, level 2, or level 3, depending which ones you like, then you just to press the right one. What happens when you do that? This is where the compliant engine comes. The compliant engine comes and has different filters, depending on the level of compliance that you would like to achieve. In this case, we started with some of them for the contractual, and remember when we talk about in the legal documents, for example, the first ones, which you will check if you just follow or match the first criteria, then you have a filter that checks if your service offering has a legally binding act. If it has, okay. If it doesn't have, you don't pass. And if you don't pass, the end of the story. You need just to fix it, okay? If otherwise, you will not get the compliance. You need just to go through all the criteria. Something that is also interesting to know is that the engine does not do everything in sequential. They do it in parallel. So the results, you might just comply with some of them first that is coming out from checking from, for example, criteria 2, while still you don't get the results from criteria 1. At the end, when the compliance, you will have the results. saying if, for example, in this case, P1.111 was valid, so you have a legal binding act document. For the 123, so which is service offering has documented change procedures, you have not done it, so you need to check it. You need to check something which is not properly done. And for example, if you have not provided the document, you will say the message. If one of them has not passed, then you have not passed. You do not get the compliance. Okay, so, but let's hope that you have passed. What you get? Well, you get finally, I may also, well, I like comparisons. So it's, I usually just tell, when you are in taxes, there is something which is called nexus, probably. And nexus is the relation between the legal entity and the jurisdiction that applies. So the rules that you need just to pay the taxes for that specific. So for me, the Gaia-X is a similar thing because it's linking the entities, the Gaia-X entities, with the relevant compliance rules. So that's what you get at the end. You have your entity. Remember, we started from the highest level, Gaia-X entity, into the top, to the bare metal service. At the entity that you finally got and the rules that you comply is the Gaia-X level. So we are almost done. It's 2 minutes. Okay. Well, I think yes, it's easy. Well, this is information. This is all the information that you will have in the Gaia-X level. But as in the RAS, what is important and what you will see is that first you have the level that you have achieved in the compliance. Okay, you have standard compliance, level 1, 2, or 3. Then important things to take into account: which is the engine version that has been used to get the compliance? Because you might be, for whatever, using an old version on an engine, or even a version that has been produced specifically for whatever, and that might be different from other versions. So this is important information just to take into account, okay? You got the compliance at that spot using that specific compliance, but also what are the documents that has been used for the compliance? Which is the rules versions document that has been used? Today, in the example, we are using the 24.0x, but tomorrow it can be 25, and maybe what has been tested with this document no longer applies. So it's also an important information to have. Okay, not only the label, but which engine and which rules. Okay, and also which is the validated criteria. So, just finishing almost with my last slide. This is what you finally will get. This is a Gaia-X level. And I try just to put emphasis on that because we are talking always about verified credentials, and my impression is that there are people that confuse all of them. So that's so it's not the same, the one that you use for the service offering, that the verified credentials that you have as a Gaia-X level. Okay, remember that is something that you will use to show the others that you have reached the compliance for that specific service offering. Remarking, service offering, okay? Per service offering, you will need to get the compliance, okay? So, as you see here, and as I mentioned before, in this case, well, that was one example for storage. Important information. SC, standard compliant, okay? You have reached the basic level of compliance, standard compliant. Version of the engine, 2.71, important. More important, rules version. Which document? Compliant document 2406, which is more or less like June 2024, isn't it? And finally, what are the credentials that has been validated? And what are the criteria that you have passed? And I hope that that's my final slide, just on time. And my intention here, that I hope that at least I managed just to make things clear, is that the process is, you need to follow, it's already standardized, but sometimes I don't know exactly if it's completely understood. So that's, my intention here was, I was saying decoding is just try to follow it by myself and to try to solve what you have to do if you would like to get the compliance. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thanks very much, Enrique. That was an excellent, almost like a step-by-step guide, an excellent decoding. It seemed very easy after you have invested all the work. Yeah, thanks a lot for that. We should have moved that earlier to the Loire 101 or something like that. That's really excellent. I didn't know. Yeah, thanks a lot. Are there any questions from the audience? We have a couple of minutes. I'm taking away a little bit of your lunchtime, so I'm. Okay, thanks a lot, Enrique. Thanks a lot for the nice talk. Absolutely perfect. Can we share the slides?
We can invite it to the champagne after lunch.
Yeah, but you have to do that.
Yeah. Okay, I will do. Okay. We have a booth there in number 6, and my intention is to open the bottle after lunchtime. So you are all invited to there, and I think bring your own glass because we don't have. But we will sell it one of you. Thank you.